Got my eyes straight ahead, got my head in the game. With the red light on, I'm just waiting for the change. Keep my head down low.
Hi, I'm Jay Fallon, obviously, and you're listening to the Slippery Slope. So look, there's so many things going on, and so many things at the moment that really have piqued my interest. You know, we had the over the weekend that we've just finished, which is yeah, it's Easter weekend, uh, Sunday, which I like to refer to as Resurrection Sunday. Joe Biden came out and was talking about, wasn't really an announcement. I mean, it was already there, but how he reaffirmed how the 31st, that day, which was Easter Sunday, was transgender day of something, another transgender day, because the trans people apparently need another. We've had so many days, you know, they have their month, they have their day here and there. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. I actually predict that somewhere in the very near future they will declare a year of visibility or something like that for the rainbow community. Anyway, so we had that. We had Easter. We had all this stuff about P Diddy, Puff Daddy, blah blah blah, whatever you want to call him. What really piqued my interest about that was the fact that TD Jakes, I think he's Bishop, something like that. TD Jakes in America was named. Now, it's not that he's named as being part of the actual crimes that Diddy is being named in. However, there's been so many rumors circulating about things that TD Jakes has been involved in. And then you've got to wonder why. Apparently, Jakes, who's very famous in the States as this kind of pastor, um, you know, these parties that Diddy is known to have, it's very well known that there's a lot of, what would you say, just hyper sexualized activity going on at these parties, um, to the extent that it's well known that people get told that, hey, you need to be home if you're not into this scene. Well, then you need to be home. You know, going out. You need to be leaving the door by, you know, just after midnight. Basically, be a Cinderella, go home because the party is going to basically dive into complete depravity uh, sometime after midnight. Apparently, that's the way it goes, and it's just filth. Um, so you got to make you wonder why a bishop, why a pastor would even go attend some of these parties or some of these things anyway, if that's what he was doing. Why you would bother associating with? I mean, we all need to associate with non-Christians, but you don't need to go to their parties and this kind of thing. And anyway, so there's things like that going on in the States, things like in Australia here, we've had, I did talk about how we've got this new national ID system that's coming in. You know, at the moment, it's just a suggestion. It's just a service that the Australian government is bringing in for you. It's for your benefit, the Australian national ID system. But pretty soon it'll become mandatory, I am sure. Also, we've got banks in Australia who are trialing. They're pushing towards going cashless. Our banking system seems to be on the forefront of going cashless and making our society go cashless. We've got supermarkets down south who have decided to go cashless, and it's all just pushing us towards a cashless society. And this is what well, it's very applicable when you're looking at biblical applications. Anyway, this is what I think many people have spoken about for years about how this is what the Bible talks about. People have referred to it. Well, if this is what the Bible says in Bible prophecy, this is how we're. This is the kind of society we're going to have. You would have to have a type of cashless society for it to work. So you got all these kinds of stories. Now we in Australia also, besides the cashless thing coming in, and besides the ID system coming in, I did talk about a while ago how we've got a housing crisis, and with that housing crisis, we have a government who's decided, hey, Not enough houses to go around at the moment. People are struggling to pay their rents. People are getting kicked out. There's a lot of homeless people. What we should do to help the housing crisis is obviously we should allow a lot more migrants to come in, a lot more, just several hundred thousands come in. Just within a 2 year period, let's invite another, was it 600,000 or something like that into the nation, because that is obviously what you benefit, that will benefit the housing crisis, obviously. And then we'll have a minister stand up and say, well, we've got to do an inquiry into this housing crisis. And I think in the episode that I did about that, I made mention that it seems to me that the government is doing this on purpose. They're purposely trying to destroy our way of life. That's why it's nothing against uh, immigration, but you have to be responsible in immigration. You can't have all these issues coming up and have people struggling for housing, having such an issue with such as housing crisis, and then allow excessive amounts of new migrants to come in. And especially if you're just focusing on people who obviously have the cash to buy houses, and then wonder why our inflation rates, our economy is struggling with inflation. But that's the Australian government. But now, if if you think, or maybe Jay, you're exaggerating. The Australian government, they're not out to destroy the very people that they're supposed to be serving. They are here to help us, to help us live, to help us survive, to help us thrive. That's what they're working for. They are working to serve the Australian people. Well, I believe we have too many layers of government. I firmly believe that we could do without councils. That's not to say we could do without council workers, but we could do without that level of government. I believe if you want government, we only need states and then the federal. We only need state government, federal government. We don't need councils. Councils are rip-off. Councils are so many councils across the nation. So many councils just in Queensland. They're in it for their own gain. So I think, let me know what you reckon. I reckon we could get rid of the councils altogether. Anyway, that's not what's part of what I want to say. So let's talk about this story. And this I think is part of the this I think supports my argument. Proposed caravan reforms enrages Aussies. Like I said, if you think that Australian politicians are here to support people and to help all those people who are finding it hard to find a home, who are struggling with homelessness, Australians living in caravans could be slapped with restrictions following a push from the New South Wales government. Under the plan changes, people living in caravans on private property. So not just people, parked out in the street, people living in a van on private property will need to gain council approval. Why the flip do councils need to approve of what's going on in your backyard? You park a caravan in your backyard, councils need to stick their nose out of it. That's what I cannot stand. I'm sorry. I can't stand local councils. I think they're just, anyway. So they need to gain council approval if their vehicle exceeds 20 square meters or if it is connected to electricity or water for more than 6 months. Now, why? Why? You still pay for the electricity. You still pay for the water, especially, or you might be in an area where you only pay for excess water. Either way, you're still paying for it. So why the flip do you need to let councils know? Current legislation allows people to live in caravans on private property indefinitely if it is used by someone in the main household. Who cares who it's used by? If a property owner wants to allow someone in a caravan to stay on their property, who cares? That's up to the discretion of the property owner. Erin Norris lives in a caravan at the back of her parents' property in Caravan in the New South Wales Central Coast. The 23-year-old said that the proposed reforms would discourage people from pursuing the affordable housing option. It would be drastic for so many people, even just even just people my age, but also say like my grandparents' sort of age would be detrimental to so many people's abilities to have a house that's safe. Uh, Go on, I'm not going to read all this part. We would all eventually like to own our own homes, but to be able to even think about doing that, you'd have to earn over 100 grand a year, which coming out of university is next to impossible. She said she was afraid she would never own her own home and hoped she and her three sisters could live in the caravan together as they grew up. Van Home's chief executive, Vito Russo, said the change was unnecessary, particularly during a housing crisis. No, the government, they're out. They're on your side. Housing crisis. What housing crisis? We're not against updating legislation, but definitely a lot more work needs to be done. That's what he's told Sky News. As the current proposal is, it will exacerbate the housing crisis, which is why they're doing it. It is also contradicted to be announcing all these initiatives to provide more housing, more affordable housing, then on the other hand, change the legislation. But that's what they constantly do. Like I said, we've got a housing crisis. Oh yeah, let's let more immigrants into the country. A large proportion of Van Home's customers includes young people trying to save money, grandparents who want to be closer to grandchildren, people with mental health issues, and domestic violence survivors. Some councils still want you to go through a development application process. And once you go through the DA process, you could be looking at an up to 12-month delay and another 25 to 30,000 to the cost, Mr. Russo said. Minister for Planning, Paul Scully, said in a statement to Sky News the proposed reforms aimed to ensure greater safety with installations. I mean, it's a flipping caravan. It's a caravan. What extra safety? You park them and you plug them in. That's what they're literally made for. You buy a brand new caravan, it's already got the safety. It's not up to council to come around and check. It's been 30 years since the current legislation for regulations against caravans, whatever. A lot of the industry has changed, some good, some bad. We're wanting to focus on what's working well and build on it. That's not what they're focusing on. They are focusing on, they see an ability for them to be able to make more money, to be able to charge exorbitant fees to people who already pay rates, who already pay water bills, who already pay electricity bills, and say, oh, wait up, your own backyard, you're using it for your own purposes. Well, here you go, 25, 30 grand. The, in a time where we are increasingly seeing tiny homes and movable dwellings becoming permanent secondary residences, we also want to provide our councils with peace of mind when planning for local amenities and infrastructure. Those impacted by natural disasters would have special dispensation. See, this just pings me off. These crackheads who get on there and try and make out like there's some kind of benevolent person. Oh, look at us. We'll give you special dispensation if you've been through a natural disaster. These councils are so arrogant and ignorant that they think they're so narcissistic. They think that they should have the final word. They're the arbitrators of everything that goes on within the local region. If they say so, oh, well, but we're so kind. If you've gone through a natural disaster, we'll let you stay there for 6 months. That's the kind of our heart. Councils need to keep their dirty, dirty, thieving, greedy hands off. I tell you what, one thing I noticed when I was working at for the police and I was doing surveillance with the Triple C. You know, uh, so many times the people that we were investigating were local councils. So many times. Let me think. Am I allowed to say that? It's broad enough, I suppose. Maybe. I think it's broad enough. Nothing specific. But yeah, there was quite a few times they're all local councils. Constantly local councils. And that's really what made me initially start thinking that we need to get rid of local councils because they're not scrutinized enough. You just get these numpties that come in and they decided, hey, we can make money doing this. So many of them are just running scams, running their own little backyard deals. Like, it just infuriates me. I could rant and rave, but forget about it. Australia, Australia. It honestly seems like we are just out to destroy our own people. Our own people. If you own a property, okay, and you've got a decent backyard, and you say, hey, for instance, my parents were of that age, and they said, oh, I'd say, okay, well, if you want to put a nice caravan in the backyard or something like that, or a tiny home or something like that, yep, come aboard. Or if I was wanting to put a caravan in there and help my relative, help my friend, and they can live in there and get cheaper and then, buy up, that's my prerogative. It's my property. It's my backyard. I can do it. I'm still paying for the water. I'm still going to have to pay for the electricity. It's none of the council's business. But our governments seem out to destroy us. Like I said, we've got the national ID system. We've got banks who've decided, hey, cashless. Cashless is the way, and they're just pushing us into it. We're within, I reckon, 12 months, our nation will be predominantly just, pushed into no more than 2 years, I reckon. But within 12 months, I think we'll be forced into being cashless. It's going to be more and more on the news. Supermarkets are now going cashless. Supermarkets down south are trialing complete cashless work. This is where we're heading. Our government is not for us. They are against us. They are trying to destroy our way of life. That's why they allow excessive amounts of immigrants in at this time of homelessness. That's why they want to put forward proposals like this and charge up to $30,000 to use property the way you want to use your own property. Absolutely disgusting. But that's the Australian government. And that's why we need to push back against it. That's why we need to write into our councillors, write into our local members, write into the federal members. Tell them tell them when you disagree. We need to start pushing back. We need proper leadership in this country. I'm Jay Fallon. This is the Slippery Slope. Let me know what you think. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm out.
They just fuel a desire that will take me higher.